Philippines-United States relations are bilateral relations between the Philippines and the United States. The relationship between the United States and the Philippines has historically been strong and has been described as a special relationship. The current Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, however, is supportive of a foreign policy that is less dependent on the United States, favoring one that prioritizes closer relations with China and Russia. Although the Philippines and the US have a mutual defense treaty dating from 1951 and as of 2019, are actively working on implementation of an enhanced defense cooperation agreement concluded in 2014. The Philippines is one of the oldest Asian partners of the United States and a strategically major non-NATO ally. The United States was consistently ranked as one of the Philippines' favorite nations in the world, with 90% of Filipinos viewing the US and 91% viewing Americans favorably in 2002. 90% of Filipinos viewing US influence positively in 2011. 85% of Filipinos viewing the US and Americans favorably in 2013. And 92% of Filipinos viewing the US favorably in 2015. And 94% having confidence in then United States President Barack Obama, making the Philippines the most pro-American country in the world. This article discusses Philippine-American relations after Philippine independence from the United States in 1946, while the article History of the Philippines describes the history of the Philippines during American colonial rule. A 1947 military bases agreement gave the United States a 99-year lease on a number of Philippine military and naval bases in which U.S. authorities had virtual territorial rights. In August 1951, a mutual defense treaty was signed between representatives of the Philippines and the United States. The overall accord contained 8 articles and dictated that both nations would support each other if either the Philippines or the United States were to be attacked by an external party. An amendment to the bases agreement in 1966 reduced its 99-year term to 25 years. In 1979, after 2 years of negotiation, the bases agreement was renewed with some amendments. Pursuant to the bases agreement, the United States maintained and operated major facilities at Clark Air Base until November 1991, and at Subic Bay Naval Complex and several small subsidiary installations in the Philippines until November 1992. In July 1991, negotiators from the two countries reached agreement on a draft treaty providing for the cleanup and turnover of Clark to the Philippine government in 1992, and for the lease of Subic Bay Naval Base by the U.S. for 10 years. By 1991, operations at Clark had already been scaled back because of the end of the Cold War, with the last combat aircraft leaving in 1990, before the base was heavily damaged by the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo. On September 16, 1991, the Philippine Senate rejected renewal of the bases agreement by a slim margin. And despite further efforts to salvage the situation, the two sides could not reach an agreement. As a result, the Philippine government informed the U.S. on December 6, 1991, that it would have 1 year to complete withdrawal. That withdrawal went smoothly and was completed ahead of schedule, with the last U.S. forces departing on November 24, 1992. On departure, the U.S. government turned over assets worth more than $1.3 billion to the Philippines, including an airport and ship repair facility. Agencies formed by the Philippine government have converted the former military bases for civilian commercial use, with Subic Bay serving as a flagship for that effort. The Philippine government on July 16, 2015 announced that it will revive a U.S.-built deep-water naval base in Subic Bay. The vote resulted in 11 senators in favor of extending the treaty, and 12 senators in favor of suppressing it. The list of senators who voted for the bases treaty to retain the bases were Mamintal Tamano, Neptali Gonzalez Sr., Hihasan Alvarez, Edgardo Angara, Ernesto Herrera, Jose Lina Jr., John Osmna, Vicente Pateno, Santanina Rasul, Alberto Romulo and Leticia Ramos Shahani. The post-US bases era has seen US-Philippine relations improved and broadened, with a prominent focus on economic and commercial ties while maintaining the importance of the security dimension. US investment continues to play an important role in the Philippine economy, while a strong security relationship rests on the Mutual Defense Treaty of 1951. In February 1998, US and Philippine negotiators concluded the Visiting Forces Agreement, paving the way for increased military cooperation under the MDT. The agreement was approved by the Philippine Senate in May 1999 and entered into force on June 1, 1999. Under the VFA, the U.S. has conducted ship visits to Philippine ports and has resumed large combined military exercises with Philippine forces. Key events in the bilateral relationship include the July 4, 1996 declaration